Hey, it's Conrad Thompson. Thanks for checking out the podcast here on YouTube. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notifications bell. You'll get a notice anytime we upload some new content. And when I'm not asking Bruce, hey, how big was Batista's? Well, you know. One of the things I like to do is help people save money. And if you're watching this video right now and you're in a 30-year loan, man, you're overpaying your single biggest bill and you may not even realize it. I want you to do a little experiment for me. Take your calculator out, multiply your monthly house payment by 360 payments. That's how many payments there are on a 30-year loan. That big scary number, that's your total of payments. You're looking at that number? You know you can do better. Keep more of your own money right now and go to savewithconrad.com. Or maybe you've got credit card debt. Man, it's not a matter of if I can save you money with that. Your average interest rate on a credit card is more than 20%. And by the way, all the interest you pay on those credit cards, it's not tax deductible. Whereas the mortgage interest, well, that is tax deductible. So if you owe this debt, it's up to you how to pay it back. Doesn't it make sense to get the cheapest rate possible and the greatest tax deduction possible? Find out how much money you can save right now for free at savewithconrad.com. You don't need perfect credit. Even scores in the 500s can be approved, and it's no cost out of pocket. But maybe best of all, we're licensed in more than 40 states. We can help more families than ever before. But how much can we save you? Find out right now for free with a quick quote from savewithconrad.com.
Hey, it's Conrad Thompson, and you're listening to Something to Wrestle with Bruce Prichard. Bruce, what's going on, man? How are you?
You're damn right it is. As a matter of fact, I'm fucking great is how I am. How and you'ins?
Man, weans are good, and I'm so excited to hook up with you. I've been looking forward to this topic for a long, long time. Royal Rumble 2002 is our topic. We're a little behind schedule this week. Apologize for the delay, but I think this episode's going to be worth it, man. There's so much fun stuff happening in the company in this era. Bruce, we're coming off Vengeance 2001, where we see a new hardcore champion in The Undertaker and a new undisputed champion in Chris Jericho. Are you excited to have a new fresh face, a heel like Jericho at the time in the top spot? I mean, it feels like for years it was pretty crowded with the same cast of characters, and now Jericho's a made man.
Absolutely hated it.
Really?
But I did at first. But I hated the idea at first, but I loved the new face. Yes. So I liked the idea of just one face and everything. I was like, you know what, man, I'm not feeling it, but yet I was feeling it in my head though. I thought, okay, we're going to go back and we're going to go backwards. I thought we were going forward with Chris, and I really like Chris being the first one because I don't think anybody was going to call that. So to your point, yes, I did, man. I like the freshness of it, but at first my initial response was, but then I warmed up to it a lot.
Were you concerned that fans might not buy him as the top guy, considering The Rock's still here, Austin's still here, and we're just a few weeks away from Triple H's return after that long absence?
Initially, but then, man, he beat Rock and Austin in the same match. So, that endorsement in and of itself, I think made it acceptable because you saw it, and Jericho had the bragging rights to say that. So you made the instant credibility there by the way that we did it.
It's interesting to me because if you go back and look at footage from this era, man, Triple H's return to the company, it feels like the primary focus, and it feels less about we're trying to make our new champion and more about, hey, Triple H is coming back. And I know that you're trying to, you can't just make one guy, everybody's got to have their spot and everybody's got to have their moment in the sun, if you will. But in hindsight, was Jericho's win here maybe at the worst possible time, since you've got to make a big deal about Triple H coming back?
No, I don't think so at all. I think that, to the contrary, I think that it made you kind of go, oh my God, when Triple H comes back, that's another new, fresh matchup.
Yeah.
So you're excited about it. And, I don't think we were singularly focused at all with Triple H coming back. I like the fact that we were making new guys in Jericho and it felt fresh. It felt good again. Hunter had been gone for a while. Jericho's a new guy. To me, it felt fresh and different.
It's an interesting time for the company. There's a lot of momentum. You finally got rid of the, I guess what's dead weight at this point, the WCW brand. The whole invasion thing is a failed experiment. Now we're getting into our prime WWF season, that whole Rumble to WrestleMania season. Internally, I wonder, when do you feel like, hey man, we got to kick it into high gear? Does that happen before the Rumble or after the Rumble? As fans, it happens in our mind, like the week of the Rumble. From there through Mania, that's like championship season, if you will, if wrestling had such a thing.
I think it's before the Rumble because you're building up. To me, the Rumble is the kickoff. So the build up to the Rumble is just as important creatively, because your build up to the Rumble is really the start of your build up to WrestleMania. And in that regard, man, you know, Rumble, that's the first one of the season. To me, the middle, your February show, or maybe if your March show, if you're going to go in April, were, I hate to say less than, but to me, it was Rumble to Mania, really. And it's evolved since then, but at the time it's Rumble to Mania.
Let's keep it going and talk about what happens right after Vengeance. Raw is going to open with a promo duel between Ric Flair and Jericho. And then the Undertaker is going to destroy Spike Dudley in a hardcore title match, where we see a choke slam over the top rope onto the floor. My gosh, what a bump. Spike Dudley, man, he was just a human dart for you guys at times, was he not?
Spike Dudley was Gumby. As Spike, you know, you add on to that the attitude of Spike Dudley of it was almost nonchalant. It was, yeah, what do you need? Sure. Yeah. And it wasn't even a negotiation or anything else. It was a guy that was uniquely qualified and really willing to do some crazy things in Spike. So it wasn't, hey man, you think you get Spike to do this? It's like, you could lay it out to Spike and he would just expect it. But he did some really insane things and was an absolute joy to work with.
On this same show, we see Vince McMahon and Booker T. They're shown together in a skybox. Was Vince already invested in making sure that Booker got over? When do you think Vince was really sold on Booker's going to be one of my primetime players?
You know, I think that Booker from day one, in a lot of respects, maybe because Booker was the last WCW champion, maybe I think in the whole, when you look at WCW and you look at that in its whole, Booker was the only star that really came in at the time. And Booker was the guy that stood out and said, man, I'm not going to be denied. Let's go, motherfuckers. So I think that everyone recognized that and recognized that he's the guy. And was, you know, Booker was on top pretty much his entire run.
The Hardy split continues as Matt is going to take on Lita and Jeff in a handicap match. And then Jericho would go over Austin in a steel cage match the next night to retain the title. And Booker gets to play Terry Gordy and slam the door.
I'm sorry. I gotta interrupt you.
Okay.
So during this time, and this is a nod to Brian Gewirtz. So, you know, we had WWF New York at the time, which was the restaurant and really cool merchandise store in Times Square. And we used to send talent there on Sundays that would host, you know, a Heat party or something like that. And you're just talking about Matt and Lita and all this stuff. And there was a question, and alcohol was served.
Okay.
And the host that night was none other than our good, close, dear personal friend, Michael P.S. Hayes. And somebody raised their hand and they said, hey, Michael, how tough is Lita? because she's tough, man. You saw all the things that Lita did, and like Lita could do everything. And Michael, this is according to Brian Gewirtz, and Brian, I know I'm going to screw this up, but apparently Michael, who had a feud, stood up and says, well, I don't know. Maybe you should ask Matt Hardy how tough is Lita. And Michael did it in a way that was probably inappropriate for children in the audience that were there having dinner with their parents and things of that nature. But it was every time that Lita's name was mentioned about like doing some of the crazy things that Lita did at that time is, how tough is Lita? And it's just, Lita was tough. Maybe you had to be there. It was much it was much funnier at the fucking time. It's still a throwback that we go to, this thing. Well, I tell you, you stupid little 8-year-old kid, why are you even in here? I'm drinking. Fuck you and your parents bringing you in here, by God. Okay, just go on to the next question. Oh, no.
I love this version of Bruce Prichard. When he gets up and he's had some 5-hour energy, we know we're going to have a good show. Anyway, Jericho, Austin, Steel Cage.
That's a new thing for me because I'm not doing any Diet Coke. I'm not doing it, Conrad. I'm drinking water.
I am too.
But I got
I'm doing water too.
I know, man. See, don't you feel much better?
I sleep better. That's for sure.
Okay. Well, see, now in the morning here, and okay, don't remind me that it's not really the morning, but in my morning, I have my recovery drink because I worked out. I've been working out. I've been working out hard in the gym, Connie.
What are you doing?
Been working out hard in the damn gym. Got a trainer. I'm doing it. I'm kicking it, man. I'm down. You know what? Here's the thing. You're going to like this too.
Okay.
I'm down to those skinny jeans that when I lost all that weight after that last heart attack that you looked at me and you said, Bruce, you need to invest in some new jeans. The 1980 shit ain't working anymore.
You've had some stonewashed mom jeans.
I'm gonna. No, the mom jeans, dude.
Yeah,
they're too big now.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm in the other shit that like, but you will be proud of me. You will be proud of me. I did throw out. I sent to Goodwill. Somebody can use them. I sent to Goodwill a pair of acid washed black jeans that were really big in the legs and everything. And when I like took them out of the closet, my wife was even like, yeah, no, that goes. But my skinny, my Tommy Hilfigers and my Calvin Kleins and shit like that. Yeah. Dude, that's because I've been working out. I'm taking my purple recovery drink right here. I got it in a glass and I pour my 4-hour energy in it because it's all grape and purple anyway. So, I mean, what's the matter? And yeah, so I'm feeling good. So I had I get one little tiny Diet Pepsi a day. That's my breakfast.
Not the full 12-ounce can, but like the little pony cans that
7.5 ounce. Yeah.
So we hold it and it feels like we're Andre, but really it's just a tiny can. I got you.
Exactly. Well, you think of, it's like everybody at the office goes, man, I would drink, 11 Diet Cokes before 6. And then I would have, a few more through the night. But yeah, I'm one. And I'm 5-hour energy. And that's it. I'm good for the day. In the night. But you're getting me on the fucking on the uptick here right now.
That's how I'm rolling. Is your trainer Simon Dean?
He is not. I got a real trainer.
Is it Brockus?
I got a good trainer. Huh?
Is it Brockus?
Nope. The name is Mike, and he's a good guy, and he's a hell of a trainer. And I did one-legged squats today, motherfucker. I just blew my nose on air. Yeah, one-legged squats today, motherfucker.
I got to tell you, this is the way we should record pods from now on. I'm going to hit you up about noon on Sunday from now on. And if this is what we're going to get every week, I mean, I'm for it.
Well, there you go. There are some good things. Oh shit, something happened. Stop that. No.
What's
My
happening,
computer's doing
Bruce?
something. Okay.
Can we do the pod now?
Yeah,
you think?
can you do a one-legged squat?
I mean, I guess I could try.
Don't do it. They're hard. It's taken me 3 months worth of training now to be able to even attempt it.
It sounds challenging.
It sucks. It hurts. Yeah, I did 30 of them today.
Oh, wow. Good for you.
Each leg.
So can we talk about the cage match with Jericho and Austin, you reckon?
They had a cage match?
They did on Raw here. And
okay. I thought we were talking about the Rumble.
Booker's going to slam the door on Austin to help Jericho get the win. And this is what leads to the classic Austin Booker T grocery store angle on SmackDown. I'm sure you've got a story about this. You got to tell us about
it. The story about this, I cannot repeat in public. But you talk about a shitload of fun with the Austin and Booker, the whole scenario. You remember the confessional with those guys on the build up where, Booker goes in the confessional and then there was a very attractive young lady that went in the confessional that Booker listened to. It was all those things of being able to sit around and think of some of the most outlandish scenarios to put people in and then just do it. And it's kind of like, oh, hey, man, wouldn't it be good if this beautiful woman comes in and starts confessing and Booker's like listening and, so tell me more. and what'd you do then? And we put it on television and it was great. And then the grocery store match to me is just like a classic all-time cleanup on aisle 316. I mean, that's good shit. Milk and flour and cookies and frozen hams. What more could you ask for?
You did us wrong there. And he said, I can't tell you the story on air. So you got to tell us something here.
I can't. It was too much fun. But it was just some of the outtakes and some of the just the whole scenario of the grocery store match and the confessionals was 100% collaborative with talent and with crew, being there and somebody saying, oh, hey, look at this. What if we did that? And that was probably Vince at his best, where you just throw him into a situation and an environment and you go.
I don't know that
Vince produced that. Vince was out there doing most of that shit, and I thought it was awesome.
I don't know that you know this, but they're using the flour and all that in the grocery store, and there was a theory for years that I can't believe I'm saying this out loud, but this is real. A lot of wrestling fans online believe that Booker T's penis came out of his pants during this match.
What?
Yes, it's real. And I can't believe we're even addressing it, but apparently the reality was Austin had his elbow in that area. And so most of Booker's covered in flour, but there's a portion that's not covered in flour. And as it's flying by, a lot of people are like, oh, that's Booker T's gimmick. And it wasn't, but there was a theory up until a few years ago that, yeah, Booker T's ween was out on aisle 3.
I've never heard that.
So you said Vince McMahon produced it. You got to. So you were saying Vince McMahon helped produce the grocery store fight. What can you tell us? What was his instruction sounded like that day, do you think?
God damn, pal, let's have some fun. Booker, is that your penis? No, I've never heard that. By the way, I have never heard that.
Dude, throw it in your Google machine right now. Just type in Booker T penis grocery store. It'll be everywhere.
Hang on. How do I get back to that thing?
Just Google? How do you get to Google?
What now am I Googling?
Booker T penis grocery store.
Dude, I can't even believe that would be in my search log.
I was wanting to see if you'd really do it.
Yes.
It's everywhere. Look. There's a whole theory, dude, and we're finally talking about it, and people have broke this down more than they did the JFK film, dude. It's just the line from his elbow. Like, it's clearly just Austin, but man, people really wanted it to be something else.
Yeah, I mean, it's a mark in his elbow thingy. How could he's wearing pants?
Well, they thought it came out somehow. Clearly it didn't. It's just where there was flour on his pants, and then there's a mark where there's no flour, and that's where Austin's arm just was.
Right. For anybody that ever subscribed to this theory, you have way too much conspiracy on your hands.
Somebody was having some of those left-handed cigarettes and watching the show and started like pointing at the TV like Leonardo DiCaprio in that meme. Wait, that's his penis right there. I can see it there. Wrestling is weird, dude. Tell me about the shoot. God damn it. You don't have to give me the one story you won't give me, but you can give me something.
Crazy.
How much did it cost? What do you think it spent? Was the grocery store owner pissed? Was Vince happy? Did Austin and Booker have fun?
I think everybody was ecstatic. I think the grocery store guy was ecstatic because we cleaned his grocery store for him.
Yeah.
Bought a lot of groceries.
A lot.
Yeah, it was a hell of a bill. I think everybody was ecstatic with it because it was one of those, it was kind of a minute, in some ways, idea that became, I think, in so many ways, classic. You know, that's a classic moment in WWE time. The grocery store fight with Steve and Booker.
It's a classic moment for sure. In a moment like that, where the guys are just totally doused in groceries, is there an opportunity? Were they able to shower there, or do they have to ride back to their hotel covered in milk and flour?
Came back to the building.
Crazy.
They don't have showers at grocery stores.
Some of them might have
at Home Depot.
Okay, listen to you.
Goddamn, I'm gonna do this fucking rain shower over here. Hey, Buck, y'all try this sumbitch out. Nah, man, I'm good with the thing. It's got extra. I took the thing out of it, so I got extra pressure. There was a Russian over there selling shower heads. The fuck? Grocery stores ain't got showers, Conrad.
Well, I didn't know if the owner had one.
Well, ain't no owner. Why? The owner in the middle of the day is going to be there like, oh, well, I've been grocerying all day. I'm going to take a shower.
A lot of
No, man, grocery store owners go home to bathe. Everybody knows this. Dude, I lived next door to the Food King guy that owned the Food King. Here, God,
let me ask you this. Does Vince McMahon have a shower at WWE HQ?
In the gym, yeah.
But no, wrestling company owners don't have showers. Wrestling company owners go home. They go home to shower.
Gym in there.
How do we know
what's going? There would be a gym, and there's showers in the gym.
So there was.
Here's the thing. You want to hear something weird?
I'm ready.
Okay, so when I lived in League City, Texas, God bless Texas. I lived next door to the Food King guy that owned the Food King. I think it was in Dickinson, Texas. Okay.
Okay.
So like when we had the bad weather and shit, we'd have hurricanes. That motherfucker always had food. He'd bring home from the grocery store because he had a grocery store. Then when I moved to Connecticut, the dude that owned this very house that I'm sitting in, was like a supermarket king.
Oh, that's right.
And owned like fucking supermarkets all over the place. So I think I know a little bit about fucking people that own supermarkets. They ain't got showers at the supermarket. They come home. I can tell you that some bitch that had this house right here, he's got a hell of a shower. My shower will fucking take anything off of you. Mustard.
What you had?
Flour.
You had mustard on you recently?
You ain't never had mustard on you?
How did you get mustard on you?
Eating a sandwich.
Oh, and it fell on your person, your physical body.
Oh, it got on my hand, got on my face.
Okay. All right. So you got in the shower to wash your hands?
Well, I was going in. Everybody showers after a goddamn mustard sandwich.
Is that all that was on the sandwich? Just bread and mustard?
Had a little turkey on there.
Oh, I was fixing to say, buddy, that explains a lot of WWE creative. If you're up there eating mustard sandwiches, like you're into
Don't knock it till you try it.
So
I've had mustard and tomato sandwiches.
Well, that's
mustard and tomato. That's it.
That's because you grew up in the South.
Well, yeah.
I'm almost sad we have to switch gears here because we're having fun.
Hell.
But I do want to mention some news happened. Unfortunately, Russ Haas passed away from a heart attack while he's down at HWA. He's only 27 years old. We recently spoke to Charlie Haas, Russ's brother and tag team partner, on the Kurt Angle show. So check the archives for that if you'd like to hear more about that. But how shocking is this to hear that a 27-year-old passed away here from a heart attack? What were the plans for the Haas brothers? I mean, what can you tell us about this?
Well, eventually we were going to bring them in as a tag team, and Russ and Charlie were special. They were special. I think they were because they were good friends with Jerry Briscoe. I became friends with them, and they had a lot of talent, but they also had a great bit of desire, a great deal of desire that they wanted to succeed. And they were great wrestlers. Where the hell did they go to college? A hell of a wrestling college up here somewhere. But I liked the hell out of them. And they were both really great guys. And so, yeah, it was shocking. It's shocking when someone goes at that age. Unfortunately, I think it ran in the family, and it was, hereditary, but it just sucks. Anybody that goes that young, and then especially someone that goes that young that and that you really like. And Russ was one of those really likable, good, just deep down good human beings. And, every time that Charlie would go out and work after that, I remember just, Charlie and Jerry, Charlie had Russ on his tape, and just, that was our way of have a good match. And, it sucked. I went to the funeral, and, it was a very sad time because you never want to go to a funeral where there's a lot of young people there.
Yeah.
Because you look around and you just say, this was a tragedy. Because I don't think young people should die from things. I hate when anybody dies, but someone with their entire life ahead of them was sad. And just sucked.
The Haas boys were from Oklahoma, but the college you were trying to think of is Seton Hall.
Seton Hall, yes. And Russ was living in Houston at the time, and their family was there. So
let's talk about Andrew McManus. Him and the World Wrestling All-Stars are announcing a pay-per-view in the United States for late February. What would the WWE or Vince McMahon's opinion have been of, hey, there's this new promoter from, he's putting together all these, I guess, stars, if you will. I mean, they're no longer under WWE. He was the first real hint that there was going to be some competition. And this is predating TNA and all that. Jeff Jarrett and I broke it down, but flirting with Macho Man and some of the other names. What'd you think of this concept of, hey, maybe there's a new league coming?
Never heard of it.
Alrighty.
Yeah. I seriously never heard of it.
So
who the hell is Andrew McManus?
Well, you don't remember World Wrestling All-Stars at all? Like Jeff Jarrett, Macho Man, none of that rings a bell?
No.
Okay. Before Raw begins on the 17th of December here, there's a dark match between Perry Saturn and Brian Gamble that's covered in the Observer. Here's why it's covered. They're in the ring having a match, and all of a sudden Gamble stopped selling, and in the ring kept saying it was his hometown and he had to win the match. He wouldn't go off of his feet and twice double-crossed Saturn on spots and kicked him in the head. Saturn's eye was bleeding, and Saturn took him down to calm him down. Saturn had to muscle him into his finisher, where Gamble at first wasn't cooperative, and then Gamble wouldn't tap. Finally, Gamble couldn't get out and tapped. Backstage, a lot of people recognized something was wrong. Vince was said to be furious. Gerald Briscoe asked Gamble what happened, and Gamble said he had family and all his friends there and he couldn't get beat. Vince thought he was nuts and wanted him out of the place. Saturn made mention of the match with Mike Bell and told Gamble to look up what happened to him and told him that he's lucky that happened first. Gamble then responded that Saturn was the one who was lucky because he would have sent him to the emergency room. And then Earl Hebner finally got Gamble thrown out of the building. What the holy hell is this? Do you remember this nonsense?
Very vaguely. And, it's kind of one of those silly things where, good God, folks, hey, a newsflash, we're in an entertainment company. What you do out there, this isn't real. And if your family doesn't understand, then maybe you should smarten them up and let them know you're an entertainer and that you're going out there and you're trying to entertain people and that this isn't real. So, bummer. And don't you think that would have been something that he should have brought up long before he got out into the ring?
I think so. Lance Storm gets a win over The Rock on.
Yeah, I think anybody with logic or sense would think so.
Yeah. Lance would get a win over The Rock on Raw by count out when Test is interfering, trying to earn his job. And I'm curious, in hindsight, do you think Vince was trying to get a program going with Test and Rock here? It felt like Test was a favorite of Vince's, and he tried a few times to see what he could get out of it. And ultimately it kind of was what it was.
It was what it was. And, hey, man, Andrew was a big, good-looking bastard that had the tools that if you looked at him, first of all, he stood out in the crowd because he was tall.
Yeah.
And had a good, decent look about him. So there were many attempts that we tried and that you would think that Test could have stood out. And I don't know necessarily that the Test was going to go any further than he did. That just is the case sometimes. You reach a plateau and you plateau.
Raw would end with Flair as the referee and Vince at ringside for Jericho versus Rob Van Dam for the title. Of course, Flair is probably not the best referee we ever saw, but Vince pulls Flair out of the ring when RVD has the match won, and it turns into Flair putting the figure 4 on Vince and RVD putting the figure 4 on Jericho. Meltzer would write, Jericho was tapping like crazy for RVD, but Vince wasn't tapping at all. Why was I not surprised by that? So Dave's speculating that it was intentional. At this point, did you know, like right after Vengeance, we're going to build a Flair and Vince at the Rumble? Because the way Flair tells it, when he comes into the work for the company, oh, you're not going to wrestle matches. We're not going to have you wrestling. You're just going to be an on-air commissioner, an on-air figure, and I'll be damned. He's going to be wrestling Vince at the Rumble. When did you know?
Kind of probably around this time. That was the intention for Rick to come in and Rick, you're going to be an authority figure and that's it, man. You don't have to work, no more bumps, no more any of that. And, and then next thing you know, goddamn, it's Ric Flair. I mean, yeah. And then Vince and just kind of fell into place, if you will. And I mean, shit, talking about Vince tapping and shit. Vince, again, not being a worker, he's not going to tap. He's screaming his head off, selling the fucking hold and shit. There's not a referee in there to break it. So, it was fun, but yeah, I think Rick, cause shit, what were we, just a few months into this gig with Rick when it's like, yeah, you're not, well, can you have one match? It's not a real match. It's with Vince. You could do this. Fast forward a few years.
Is that a Vince idea, do you think? Or does somebody bring it to him and say, hey, because at this point, Vince had in-ring matches before. And since they're sort of feuding as co-owners, hey, what if, does somebody else present that? Or is that a Vince idea?
I think it was an overall creative idea with Vince and with everybody from the standpoint of what do you do with this rivalry?
Yeah.
And it just logically led itself there.
So there's a lot of talent coming off of the invasion that are just sort of floating around. How are decisions made on who comes back and in what spot and all that? I mean, is it really as simple as here's a list of baby faces, here's a list of heels? Or what does it look like when you've really probably got a bloated roster at that point, right after the invasion, and maybe there's not enough TV time to get everybody featured?
And I don't know if there's enough creative energy to support everybody. And, that comes into play from the standpoint of what do you do with them? And not everybody stood out. Not everybody was going to be a star. And
right.
I think there was hope for some of the younger talent, the Jindraks of the world. And, it just didn't pan out.
So I bring all that up because all of a sudden the big boss man, who's been gone off of TV since all the way back in November of 2000, he's going to attack Austin to help Booker defeat him on SmackDown in a first blood match. Why is Big Ray Traylor getting the nod here?
I just think it was timing and just kind of looking at someone, in bringing Boss Man back, and I'll go back to what we've talked about before, the whole Survivor Series deal with Austin and Rock and Shane and Big Boss Man. Where the hell was he? I don't know that Boss Man coming back that run it wasn't the Big Boss Man. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It wasn't that guy, that hungry guy that snap in his step. He was still a damn good worker. Ray Traylor was a damn good worker. And you think of the way that Ray came into the business as like a bodyguard for Dusty, and he was just an attraction and just kind of an added to, but big bastard that could go. And Big Boss Man was the first gimmick that he had where he worked. And I think that it had worn off by this time.
So the brand split is coming, but it sounds like it keeps getting pushed back. According to the Observer, the original plan for the brand split was January 7th at Madison Square Garden. We know that's where Hunter's going to wind up coming back, but it feels like there's not really enough structure to do it yet. Was this concept of a brand split a stop and start for a long while before it actually happened, Bruce?
I think it was, in many ways, it was more of a conversation in the very beginning and looking at a way, how do you make it work?
Yeah.
And sometimes when you look at how do you make something work, it's like, well, you know what? Start it and work it out. But then that just kind of got moved because, well, if we do it now, it affects this or it affects that, shit like that.
A few weeks before the Rumble, there's still really no card announced, just that Royal Rumble tickets are on sale, and nearly 10,000 tickets are sold, $682,000 at the gate. And it looks like it's going to be a huge success when you haven't really even announced anything yet. Let's talk about something else here that, timing. Undertaker completely squashes Matt, Jeff, and Lita in back-to-back Raw and SmackDown episodes. And it's written in the Observer that this pair, the Hardys, are going to be written off TV due to some issues. Quote, there have been some problems with Jeff of late, which came to a head when he missed San Jose on December 8th. He's also been late for a few shows. His performance hasn't been at nearly the level it used to be, which was bound to happen given all the crazy bumps from the high heights he's taken over the years. Then the Matt versus Jeff match of the pay-per-view was a flop in the eyes of most. And after the Raw handicap match, Vince decided to kill the feud, and Vince sat down all three to explain the situation. Vince explained he was taking them off TV to give them a chance to breathe. What do you remember about this? Was this demons, or was this just, hey man, they're hurting and they've maybe been overexposed and they need to go learn a new hold, take a deep breath and whatnot?
It was definitely time for a rest. And unfortunately, yes, demons rear their ugly head at the most inopportune times.
Yeah.
And sometimes when, you're in something and things are going well, maybe you lean on your demons a little more.
Yeah.
And I think that was all coming to a head. And unfortunately, it affected all three people. So when you look at that, one needs to take a break and really, rest and deal with issues. And maybe the rest need that time to just freshen up. And maybe, absence makes the heart grow fonder.
Yep.
That's why my wife is so fond of me when I'm gone.
I wanted to ask, from a creative standpoint, is that the bane of your existence? I mean, your chief frustration where you have plans laid out and it feels like we've got an idea and we've got a program, we've got all this effort put into this. And then you find out, hey, some of those pieces are off the board now, because it's not like when somebody goes down, it just affects that one segment, right? It affects everything on the show. Everything has to be reshuffled.
It's the domino falling theory that once one falls and it goes, and then you have avenues where they meet at the Y and everything else goes down from there. So yeah, it's very frustrating because it just doesn't affect that story. It affects everything else because now you have a void. That's part of life. When someone can't control their personal demons, I'm a little different. I liken that to a sickness, which I guess it is, that you need to go away and get healthy and help control things. So unfortunately, it's a part of our business, and I think it's a part of life in general. Same thing with a guy in the company. You've had this, in a mortgage company where someone maybe can't control their drinking or they can't control their demons, and they've got other things that help them go.
Yeah.
That sometimes you got to say, look, man, I've got a talent here. I've got a really good broker here that I know is good when he's good.
Yeah.
But when he's bad, he's really bad. You don't want to cut it off. You want to go, hey man, go get some help. Come on back when you're ready to go, and let's make some money together.
On the Christmas Eve Raw, we see the debut of Billy and Chuck with the bleach blonde hair, and their tag team comes together. We all know where it's going, but what was the original plan? I mean, there's no way you guys had like the big reveal with the wedding and Eric Bischoff and all that right away, right?
Oh God, no. But you look at Billy and Chuck, both. Oh my God, if you were going to chisel, what your superstar was going to look like, you're going to chisel Billy and Chuck. Both great physiques, both good looking guys, and both could go. I think, Chuck was a little green still, but a nicer guy that you would want to help. And originally, putting them together. Did we have the wedding planned at that point? No, we did not. But putting them together and coming out with something crazy was definitely in the plans.
Stephanie McMahon would appear at the Christmas party and try to weasel her way back into the company. I guess it's just a matter of time before we put her back on TV. Of course, she's gone bye-bye because the whole invasion thing. She was leading the invasion, but she was too good of a television performer to not be able to find a spot, right? Or is this creative pushing for her to come back, or did she just really miss it and she want to find a way to get back on?
No, it was definitely creative from the standpoint of you're looking at talent that you have access to and looking for good talent. This was a way to kind of introduce her back, and just, it's always good to have A-plus players in the lineup.
No doubt. Maven is going to work with Booker, which helps because it's a taped Raw. Maven, as a reminder, has just won Tough Enough, and now fans want to see him on TV, and we're going to try to give them what they want. And thankfully, he's going to have some pretty talented guys to get to work with. What were your impressions of Maven, at least at first, when you first saw what he was doing on Tough Enough, and then you could actually see what he was capable of inside a WWE ring and a live audience?
I liked Maven, and I think that Maven kind of reminded me almost of a young Ricky Steamboat, as crazy as that sounds. And by that, I mean in his comeback, he had a good, fiery, realistic-looking comeback, and he was fresh. So why not, man? If let's go with something. He was fresh off of Tough Enough. He was a fresh face on the show, and he had ability, man. He had talent.
Mae Young is going to close out the Christmas party by stripping, and the only people that are remaining are Pat Patterson and Gerald Briscoe, who are here dressed as elves, and Vince McMahon. How much fun did Vince have with Mae, with Jerry and Pat here?
Well, being able to do it on screen is even better, because Mae was absolutely, to me, one of the greatest talents of all time. Because especially in her elder years, if you will, she was great. But you listen to stories of Mae Young in her prime and just some of the crazy things that she did where she was so ahead of her time. I showed a picture of a very young Johnny Mae Young to someone the other day, and they were like, "Oh my God, who's that? She's beautiful." That's Mae. Mae was hot. Mae was beautiful when she was young, and she was beautiful when she was old too. But it was like, here was what seemingly was portrayed as a somewhat crazy geriatric. Mae was on top of her shit and tough as nails, but God, working with her every night, please give me a Mae Young every night. She was so much fun to work with, and everyone that had the privilege of working with her, I think, would share that same exact thought.
So let's talk about Austin. He's going to run in, and Vince is going to powder. Briscoe's going to end up in the punch bowl, and Patterson is forced to look up Mae's crotch, which supposedly doesn't have any underwear covering it. Is this Brian writing this? I mean, I know Vince is loving it.
Oh, but please. This is Vince going, God damn, what if we did this? No, this is classic in the moment. Let's go have fun. And in the moment, sometimes on a lot of this shit, people think, write every single thing. Man, in the moment is where most of the best stuff is created.
Jericho wins in the main event. It's a 3-way over The Rock and Kurt Angle in Miami, which is a big deal. You're only a couple weeks into Jericho's reign. How does Vince think it's going at this point?
Great. Jericho's proven to be, come on, man. The guy can work, the guy can talk, and was able to hang with pretty much everybody on the roster.
Is it more difficult to book for a heel champion compared to a babyface champion, or vice versa?
I think it really depends on the talent. For example, Hogan was easy to book for. You needed big monsters that he could overcome. I think that when you look at a Ric Flair as a champion, or trying to think of another heel champion, back in the day, Hunter, it's
Harley Race,
babyface chase. I look at Hunter, I look at Rock even as a heel champion, where you had Austin chasing, that was easy. But I just think it depends on the talent. It depends on what talent you have. What babyface can rebound after not getting the championship? For a heel, I think it's a lot easier.
John Tenta gets a dark match at the Smackdown tapings, and we have a ton of people here on the roster. And I'm just wondering, why was John getting the look? I'm glad he did. I just recently saw a picture of this. He was wearing his old Earthquake gear, and him being at a show in this era feels weird, but I love John, and I know you did too. Did you just have a spot for a big guy, or what's the thinking in, hey, let's give him a look?
It was, let's give him a look. And it was more out of respect to John and hoping that maybe there was something there for him. And, John I think John had lost a lot of weight at this point, so it wasn't the giant earthquake that was before. Regardless, John was always a big man. Even, unfortunately, when I saw John in the middle of his treatments in Houston at MD Anderson, he had lost a great deal of weight, but he was still a big man.
Right.
So I think it was just a favor to John, and let's see if there's anything there.
I should also mention Test, who had been trying to do a bit of a feud with The Rock, seems to disappear, or at least that feud does. Now he's putting over Hurricane on Heat, and Rikishi's going to interfere. Obviously, we love Hurricane.
What's up with that?
But it is interesting when you're working with The Rock on the main show, and then you're losing Hurricane on Heat. What did Test do to fall out of favor? Or was it simply, hey, we tried it, it didn't get over, we're going to try something else?
I don't know if Test did anything specifically. Looking at the audience reaction, whether they're buying it or not.
Hey, give me that again. Your internet's cutting
Move
out
on.
today.
Change direction.
Okay. Flair does a
I think it's your internet.
So Flair does a deep dive in history on a promo where he's talking about how Vince almost fired him at WrestleMania 92 at the Hoosier Dome. And the story is that Flair knew it was a big match. And even though the WWF had a no blood policy, he did it anyway. And Vince almost fired him. And Meltzer speculates with this type of promo that Heyman probably had something to do with the creative on this show. How would all of that get put together? Do you remember this, where we're sort of pulling back the curtain and talking about the wrestling business here?
I think that, the whole idea behind the Vince and Flair program was kind of behind the scenes business, because you were talking about two general managers and you were talking about two people that had part ownership in the company. So to go there, I think made sense. I have no idea if Paul had anything to do with that or not.
So Meltzer has this to say. What was interesting politically is seeing Flair, who has to rescind his career in the interview, saying that all those times he said the NWA title was the real world title, that he was lying, and he always knew the WWF was the place to be. Always knew he'd gotten back for doing that promo in the final Panama Beach show, where he said WCW was always number one. This feels like splitting hairs. Of course, Ric Flair is going to say the promotion he works for right now is the number one promotion. They're the only one that survived, right?
They weren't. I think every time that Rick has ever been with anybody that was paying him, he would say that they were the number one.
Because that's kind of what you're supposed to do. Just saying. Vince versus Flair is now set for the Royal Rumble. The card is starting to take some shape. We sort of joked about it earlier that, oh, Rick, you'll never wrestle. We just want you to do this or that, blah, blah, blah. Was Rick nervous about getting back in the ring? I only bring this up because the last time we saw him wrestle, it was against Sting at that last Nitro, what we referenced. And he wrestled in a t-shirt because he didn't feel like he was, I think the term he used is a cosmetic nightmare. And now you got to wrestle again, and it's on pay-per-view, and it's against Vince. Was he up for it?
I think he was up for it, but I do think he was nervous. And I think anytime that Rick does anything, I think Rick is nervous. Rick will make himself a nervous wreck. But at the same time, and during this time, I'm not sure that Rick had the confidence in himself.
Yeah.
And he had been through a lot at WCW and had a lot of self-doubt. But I don't think that there was any doubt in anybody else's mind. And it was just, get back on the bike and go. You're fucking Ric Flair. Go. And I think he was nervous, but I think that he also understood this was not, Rick, you don't have to go 60 minutes to make somebody. Yeah. This is an attraction. Go be an attraction. And that eased his mind a little bit. But, Rick's a pro, and if you're not nervous, you're not doing it right.
I want to mention Chris Jericho does a poolside promo here that's described by Meltzer as being the first time he feels like he's come across on TV like a world champion. Do you remember the moment when you were watching Chris where you felt like there was a transition and you could say, okay, now he's the world champion. Now I believe it. Now I buy it.
The triple threat when he held the Undisputed Championship up.
There you go.
To me, that was the moment.
Booker and Bossman take on Austin in a handicap match for the main event, and Bossman doesn't look great, which you sort of alluded to earlier. And maybe this is a sign that he's not ready for the main event picture. But old Kevin Nash his contract with Turner is going to expire at the end of the year. So on December 31st, he's done. And it's reported everywhere that he's going to be signing with the company. And we've covered the NWO coming back into the WWF here in the archives, but were you personally looking forward to working with Kevin again?
Not really.
Okay.
Yeah, not really. I'm not sure that many people were. So the last time, was, I think, looking at Kev at that point was Kevin and Scott were the beginning of the change and were more associated with WCW at that point. And I think that Kevin had left a bit of a bad taste. But again, in this business, man, you can leave a bad taste. You can have a bad night. And we're human beings, and to hold grudges and shit and oh, well, this guy was an asshole. People change. But honestly, first impressions, no, I wasn't excited about working with Kevin again. Part of me was thinking of different things we could do with him.
Yeah.
But, at the same time, my initial reaction was, okay.
It's reported in the Observer that along with Nash, you're also talking to Hall, Hogan, and even Rey Mysterio. Supposedly negotiations are getting pretty deep on all these guys. So you're talking about adding a lot of high end talent. Is this all motivated by the goal of creating this brand split?
I think it was more at this point looking at WrestleMania and having some different big attractions, but still within our genre, not having to go outside to the entertainment world. And that's more what it was driven.
So let's talk about SmackDown on January 3rd from DC. We would see The Rock beat Booker to become the number one contender. So he'll be taking on Jericho for the title. I guess Jericho and Rock's chemistry, even back to Jericho's debut, made that sort of a no-brainer, right?
Absolutely. And, people were digging it. So it was a lot of fun, and both guys they had chemistry and they gelled.
Triple H returns to the World Wrestling Federation on January 7th at Madison Square Garden. It's one of the biggest pops of all time. Bruce, you were in the building. You're in Gorilla. I mean, there was a fucking rumble. It was a major moment, to say the least. Let's take a listen. You get the gist. It's a 10-minute segment. My God, what a reaction. Brilliant call by JR and the King to just lay out and let that moment breathe. The crowd was ready for it, man. You guys had teased this for a long time with lots of really emotional videos and training videos. And now he's back. And boy, what a reaction. And what a look too. A leather jacket with a denim jacket over it. What do you remember about that moment and that pop when he came back?
Well, I actually was not at Gorilla. I actually was in the audience, and I was right on the side bomb, and love to do that. I love to go out and feel the audience, man. Be in the middle of the audience, and you feel the reaction, and it's not just hearing it; it's actually feeling it. And it was a goosebump moment. It was a goosebump moment, feeling good for him, but also looking at it going, okay, man, everybody's ready. And they were ready for it. And it was nice to have that level of talent back.
The whole video that people still talk about, I think there was a Desire video. I know the Beautiful Day, the YouTube video, boy, people just went bananas over that. Do you know any idea who would have helped put that together? Is that Sahadi? Is that Chambers?
Nah, I think Sahadi was gone by that point. Probably Chris Chambers, Adam Panucci. I have no idea, but the guys in the studio do amazing work.
It really is. And what a moment this is. I mean, is this, as far as being in the crowd and seeing it happen, I know you were lucky enough to see the Hogan Rock thing. Is this top 5, do you think, that you saw in the crowd?
Yeah, definitely up there. Because it was electric, and it was, oh my God, it was, it'd been gone for a while, and the audience wanted it.
Let me ask this creatively. When he left, he was a heel. That was the idea. Everybody remembers that big tag match. Him and Austin were a tag team, and they were bad guys taking on the Jericho and Benoit tag team. But now when he comes back like this, and we've seen this video, and even if he was a heel, we as wrestling fans, well, we know that, but we really like him and we respect him. So it's natural that you're going to cheer because he's a big star. How does that affect your creative? Like, do you want him to be a heel, but the fans, the fans won't accept it right away, so he's got to come back as a babyface? Or did he want to be a babyface?
We wanted him to be a babyface. And when you started, it was a situation, you started the whole comeback video, everything he overcame, look at it.
Yeah.
You had to admire it. You had to respect it. So I don't think that you could have done anything. He couldn't have come back as a heel at that point. He'd overcome too much.
The show did a 4.93 rating, which is the highest rating since August 20th. So that was even pre 9/11. And of course, Hunter's going to announce that he's back for the Rumble, and then he's going to get interrupted by Angle saying, Triple H, you were out for 8 months with a torn quad, but I won a gold medal with a broken freaking neck. The show ends with a brawl and Hunter standing tall with the pedigree. Kind of the perfect return here, is it not?
Yeah, I thought so. I thought it was, it fit the moment.
Yes. And
everything, there was a need for it. And I think it fit the moment big time.
Also on this show, Vince is going to open it by mocking Flair and winds up busting him open with a lead pipe, and Flair gets the crimson mask. But this is where we would see Vince do the strut and put the wig on and put one of Flair's robes on. Vince was loving this shit, was he not? He's having a blast.
Yeah, because I think if Vince had been a worker back in the day, he would have been Ric Flair.
Oh, well, there you go.
Rick was just doing Vince.
Taz and Spike are going to beat the Dudleys for the tag titles, which has to be a big deal for these 4 guys because we're in Madison Square Garden, old ECW guys. What'd you think of that tag team, Taz and Spike?
I just kind of was what it was.
The next night, okay, it's announced that we're going to have some big returns for the Royal Rumble. Val Venus, Godfather, Goldust, and Mr. Perfect. Of course, at the time, Venus and Godfather are here under contract with the company, but Dustin and Kurt were not. What's the thinking in bringing them back? I mean, this is Kurt's return after really leaving on some pretty bad terms in 1996. How does all that heat get squashed, and how does that deal get put back together?
It's funny. The heat gets squashed. Time. And I think that people believe that everybody holds grudges for forever. And by God, if you did something, you're fucking hated forever. And I'm going to remember it forever. It's not how it works. It's business. And you look at things, people from outside that can come in and compliment the Rumble that people would like to see from a nostalgia point of view. And it's a little different. So it gets people talking a little bit, but I don't think Kurt and heat and anything like that at the time. Were people not happy? Sure. But God, what was it? 8 years later, 6 years later, who cares?
I only bring it up because it was mentioned in the Observer that the company actually had to go through the XWF to book Kurt because I guess he had a contract there. It was supposed to be a one-time deal. Is that the way you remember it? Obviously it worked out to be more.
Yeah, it was. I mean, both Dustin and Kurt were just one-time deals for the Rumble.
It's reported, as well that, quote, if either got a great reaction or did well, it's not unlikely they'd be offered a spot, but I'd be hesitant on Runnels, who hasn't shown anything in years. Boy, that didn't age well. Did it?
No, sure didn't.
On the Smackdown tapings, we would see Sergeant Slaughter team with Taz in a dark match to take on the Dudleys. What the fuck is that? Sergeant Slaughter and Taz.
Sergeant goddamn Slaughter. G.I. fucking Joe. The fuck do you mean?
Okay.
He's Sergeant Slaughter, damn it.
Stephanie comes. Maggot.
Damn it, you motherfucker. Hang on. Go back and erase that, and you start to say something, then I'm going to say, maggot.
Okay.
Continue on. Fuck.
Stephanie does an interview talking about how she takes all the credit for Triple H's success. Stephanie has to be the heel for this, but she's the one who's getting heat and still hasn't been shown with Hunter. Is Vince heavily involved in all of this? I mean, it is a cute way to associate them, I suppose. And we know where it's leading with her and Jericho, but how does that come to be? How's this the creative we land on?
I think it's easy. Stephanie's a natural heel. Why not?
So speaking of why not, this is from the Observer. They do a vignette where Rikishi is taking a dump while Booker is in the bathroom. Booker sprays deodorant on him to set up a match. Rock and RVD beat Jericho in Test when Rock used the sharpshooter on Jericho to set up their title match. Then, if that wasn't enough toilet humor for one show, Rikishi gave Booker the stink face. Booker vomited on cue all over Cole. Cole then vomited as well and left the announcing position. Ross replaced Cole as an announcer. Tell me this is a Vince McMahon angle without telling me this is a Vince McMahon angle.
It's great shit.
I love
great
it.
Vomit too. I think Michael Cole's vomit was like fucking on cue. Like he vomited. That was awesome.
Where did you get,
write that shit.
Where'd you get the vomit?
Vomit and shit are us. It's
it's like when there's a Taco Bell and a KFC,
yeah.
like when you see those like combo drive-throughs,
right?
That's what it looks like at
vomit
and shit.
Fucking place. You know, and I shouldn't be talking about this because it's current stuff, but I did just have a conversation with Johnny Knoxville. You like that name drop? About just why isn't that shit? It's just funny. Because I was watching Jackass 3 the other day, and the scene with Steve-O where he goes up in the porta potty full of poo-poo, and there's just a lot of poo-poo comedy in there, and it's just, I laugh because caca's funny.
Wow.
So many different names I came up with defecation in that.
A lot. Used a lot.
Yeah. Broad spectrum, Conrad. Broad spectrum here.
So, before the Rumble, it's confirmed that Hall, Nash, and Hogan are all coming in, and Rock is in and out of TVs once 2002 begins because he's away doing shoots for the Scorpion King. How frustrating is that? We got Rock, we don't. We got Rock, we don't.
Well, that's life. That's business. So, you know, we knew we were prepared for it. Well, I'd like to have had Rock all the time every week. Hell yeah.
Even today. Why not?
Even today. Why not? Shit.
Yeah.
I think, you know what? I think that kid might get over at some point.
Yeah. Maybe y'all could rub him up a little bit, put him on TV and let people know about his talents.
Yeah. I mean, you know, it's a secret.
It is.
This guy, you know, maybe one day that everybody will know his name.
Maybe so.
What do you think?
I mean, I know he is the most followed man in North America on Instagram, but I don't hear people saying that about his Twitter.
Yeah.
Maybe you guys can help him get those numbers up.
I mean, you know what? Maybe you ought to do a movie or do some projects.
Maybe so. Let's mention the go home.
I wear his damn workout pants when I work out, Conrad. Did I tell you I've been working out?
You've mentioned it 7 times on the show so far.
Only 7? Okay, well,
we got to get those numbers up. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So the Go Home Raw opens with Flair announcing he's making him and Vince a street fight, which I guess makes sense. We need some smoke and mirrors. It turns into Jericho coming out, brawling with Flair, and then Vince is going to attack Flair and leave him bloody again. A lot of Flair being bloody here. Jericho, Christian, and Lance Storm are going to make fun of Texas, and somehow this leads to Bradshaw defending Texas's honor since they're in Dallas, and well, he's a country boy. So it's going to be Jericho, Storm, and Christian taking on the APA and Rikishi. Probably not what you're thinking for the main event of Raw on a go home show, but here we are. It's also the first time we see Stephanie and Hunter back together. And it seems that Hunter is annoyed by Stephanie. Deborah and Stephanie are in the back arguing over whose husband is going to win. And then all of a sudden, both of them start smacking each other. And I mean, really laying it in here. This is some fun stuff. Who enjoyed it more? Deborah, Stephanie, or Vince?
Me. That's true too, by the way, because I actually produced that and that was fun. 2 awesome pros there, man, that went for it. And I love that shit when you feel it.
Jazz is going to beat Jackie to earn a shot at Trish at the Rumble, for the women's title. Jazz is somebody we don't spend a lot of time talking about, but boy, once the bell rang, she was quite the performer. Probably an upgrade at times for that division in this era, right?
Yeah, I think Jazz was an incredible, awesome talent that just, could go.
And then the show goes home with Hunter in the ring, and Austin comes out and they brawl, and then Taker comes out and Taker stands tall over both. The plan is obviously Hunter, but was there ever any consideration for anyone else to win this 2002 Royal Rumble? Or did you just know based on the return and the timing of all that, it's gotta be him?
I mean, you always have an A, B, and a C, but, that's the plan.
So the go home Smackdown is in Louisiana. TDP is going to beat Boss Man to be reinstated in the company.
I want you to name where it was in Louisiana.
Bossier City.
No, goddamn, you fucking hillbilly. Bossier City.
Okay.
Bossier. Is that other word you screw up all the time?
Quang.
Thank you for that. God damn. Quang.
Well, Quang, is it not Quang?
Yes, it was Quang.
That's what I said.
Called him Quang.
Yeah, and I said Bossier City, Louisiana. What are you talking about?
Yeah, Bossier.
Buddy, when you ask me to mispronounce something, I fucking hit it every time.
Yeah, but you weren't mispronouncing it in your own head. You were thinking it was real.
I don't even know what you're saying. The main event of SmackDown.
I'm just putting words together at this point. It's been 5 hours. My energy's wearing off.
Oh, you better chug the rest of that purple shit. So the main event.
No more.
Well, yell to Stephanie.
You can't do too much of that one day, Conrad. I'm just saying.
You had 2 bottles. Before we recorded, you peeled up 2 glasses of the shit.
Yeah, but now I'm down to this.
Okay. So you've chugged both of those.
Oh yeah.
So you got a pee-pee right now.
Not at all.
So the main event of SmackDown, and this is really what happened, is Austin and Triple H teaming up to beat Booker and Angle. Triple H's first match back is on a taped SmackDown go-home show before the Rumble. The Observer would say, the fact he wrestled for free on SmackDown is nothing short of mind-boggling. Actually, if you look at the economics, they are becoming ratings marks. In 2000, when Austin returned after neck surgery for his first appearances, his first Angle, advertised in advance on pay-per-view, drew 630,000 buys. The company was doing about 420,000 on average for non-major pay-per-views without something major like an Austin return. So his return was worth $2.64 million in extra revenue. His first match was saved for the next month on pay-per-view, and it did 550,000 at another B show, or another 1.56 million. So the company added an extra 4.2 for Austin's return. Triple H's first appearance was put on TV, and in some ways, even way more hype, let's say boosted the rating from 4.0 to 4.93, which I guess could be worth around $100,000 in additional advertising revenue. If we are nice and say his first match boasts Smackdown from 4.3 from its 3.9 average, it's worth about $57,000.
That is probably the most idiotic paragraph you've ever read in your life.
Let's hear you expand on it.
Well, it's idiotic. Again, you're in a television and entertainment business. You're not just in the pay-per-view business. You're in an overall business to build things, and that helps build to the pay-per-view. And you know what? I think it worked out all right in the end for rights fees. And we were still getting rights fees at that time. So again, this comes from a person that has never actually run a business or actually had to do something in business to be profitable or to think long-term and actually do it. Instead, he likes to critique afterwards with inconsequential bullshit that's in his head only.
Okay. Here's my question. Do you think he has at least some point to, hey, maybe we should have saved him for the pay-per-view? Triple H.
Or would you rather see him on television to make you want to see him win the Royal Rumble in a week's time?
I'm just asking because when we talked about Nitro once about giving away Hogan and Goldberg on TV as opposed to pay-per-view, you had an aneurysm.
Because they had no promotion. This had promotion.
Okay. That
didn't.
So as a reminder,
and I don't have aneurysms, damn it.
The Royal Rumble.
I'm not any of your other 42 casts of pod. I'm the calm one. I'm the funny one. I'm the talkative one.
You're screaming at me. I'm the calm one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm Mr. Calm, Cool, and Collected and shit.
Have you heard Arn Anderson's podcast?
Yeah, no.
He's the calm one.
Is anybody else?
I teed that up for you.
You did.
You know where I did it from? I did it from Bossier City too.
Ah, there you go.
Yeah. Royal Rumble 01.
You know who I, not Bossier, was in Lafayette. Tell you one of the biggest thrills of my life is walking in a hallway in Lafayette, Louisiana. And it was they had chairs on either side. And it was like kind of a side hallway because they had all these connecting. It was a weird deal in a bomb. And I'm walking down the hallway and behind me, I hear someone say, "Hey, brother love, how you doing?" And I turn around and it was the Snake, Kenny Stabler.
Oh, wow.
With his grandson. And the fact that he knew who I was, and I turned around to see who it was. I just thought it was, one of the crew or something like that. And it was Kenny fucking Stabler. And I was like, oh my God. I said, "Mr. Stabler, hey, how you doing, Bruce Prichard?" He goes, "I know who you are." I said, "Well, I sure as hell know who you are, sir." And I said, "Man, I was such a fan when he was quarterback,
Alabama.
Alabama too. Yes. But
Raiders.
Also, man,
yeah.
The Raiders and the Oilers, and his bar was right by my house, Kenny Stabler's Rattlesnake Bar. And it was just fucking awesome, man, to actually meet him. And that was kind of a big thrill. That happened in Louisiana. It didn't happen in Bossier City. It happened in Lafayette.
There you go.
And, yeah. So anyway.
So the 01 Royal Rumble.
An idiot. I'm sorry, but go ahead.
Was main evented by Angle and Triple H for the world title, and Austin won the Royal Rumble from New Orleans. They had 17,137 fans there, 625,000 buys. A year later, we're at the Phillips Arena, and we've got 16,107 fans, but the buys are up to 670,000. So this is one of the few pay-per-views from 02 compared to 01 that beat the prior year. How much of that do you put on Jericho? How much of that do you put on Rock? How much of it do you put on Flair? And how much do you put on Triple H?
I put it on everything. I put it on the entire promotion. I think we had a lot of interesting things going on at one time, and it was a good build, to the Rumble and to Mania. I think it's a combination. I don't think it's any one thing.
The show is one of the most well-received shows in the history of the Wrestling Observer. 94% of the readers gave the show a thumbs up. It's the 15th annual Royal
Yeah, come
Rumble.
on. Usually when he likes shit, it's everybody else. But anyway, when he doesn't like something, it's excellent. When he likes something, it's like, eh.
You just got to burn your saddle about him today, don't you?
Well, you're the one that put it in there.
There's a joke in there somewhere. Meltzer even praised this show. He says, the show seemed to signify at least a short-term philosophical change in booking, and that common sense and long-term building seems to take precedence over unpredictability that goes nowhere. The show, as we said, does $859,690 at the gate, another $142,000 and change in merch. So over $1 million. Quite the day you're having here, kind sir.
I'll take those days every day.
The first match out is Taz and Spike Dudley retaining their tag straps over the Dudleys in 5 minutes and 6 seconds. Meltzer would say there was nothing particularly wrong with the match other than it came off like a Smackdown match because of the time frame. The finish would see Stacy Keibler distract Taz because, well, everyone would be. And then Taz responded by choking her. Devon makes the save, attacking Taz, and then Keibler takes a bump to the floor. Spike, in attempting his Dudley dog, is thrown over the top rope by Bubba. And while all of this is going on, Taz gets the Taz mission clean in the middle for the tap out. And Meltzer would say, I think most people were likely expecting a tag change here. Star and half. I agree. I was at this show. I think this was my second WWF pay-per-view I was able to attend. And I kind of thought the Dudleys would win here too. I guess it's nice every now and again to, they think we're going left. Let's go right. Right.
Yeah. And you know, again, it's a little unpredictability in that. And as you say, just when you think we're going to turn right, we make a U-turn.
Have you seen that, Taz's son is, wrestling these days and using the Taz mission?
Good for him.
I think it's cool when we get a generational talent, going. And I don't know that a lot of people, would have predicted that. So good for them. William Regal is out next, and he's going to pin Edge in 9 minutes and 45 seconds to win the IC title. Nick Patrick is the referee, which Meltzer says sort of gives away a title change was coming. Patrick didn't play the heel ref early, searching for and even finding the knucks down Regal's trunks. And after a flying spin kick off the top rope, Regal pulls out a second set of knucks for the finish. Star and a quarter. Tell me about Nick Patrick. He's really a WCW referee, but now, even though the invasion angle is over, we're still keeping him around. What'd you think of Nick?
I always liked Nick. I thought Nick was a good referee and a even better guy. But I enjoyed Nick's work, and I enjoyed, Nick Patrick, the human being, man. He was a good dude. He is a good dude.
Everybody listening to this knows that Edge and William Regal are two of the best wrestlers ever. I mean, just really tremendous performers. But for whatever reason, it never felt like their matches clicked like I thought they would, just when you see their names on paper. Why do you think that is?
Again, it's different styles and being able to work to different styles. And people talk about, they didn't have any chemistry or anything like that because it's fluid or all this shit. I love the quirkiness of Regal's work and mixed up with Edge, and it did look different. It's different.
Yeah, good. I agree. Here's something different. Trish is going to retain the women's title over Jazz with Jackie as a referee in 3 minutes and 43 seconds. Meltzer would say, seriously, way better than you'd ever imagine. Did some wrestling, some moves, some near falls before Stratus got the pin after a face buster. Star and a half. It's kind of unusual for Dave to compliment a match when it's this short. It's under 4 minutes, but it was still good. Did you think having Jackie in there added anything as far as the referee?
I do. And actually, one of the things that, at least I was considering, at the point was I love the idea of Jackie being a full-time referee. And I thought that was a pretty cool deal. I got to do it. We did. We played with it here a little bit, but I got to do it in TNA with Taryn Terrell. And I thought that was a fun way to introduce a talent. And it was different. It was just, something cool at that time. Yes, absolutely. Jackie added to it, man. It just, it's one more element that meant something in the match and to make the match memorable and good.
Do you think Jackie and Jazz specifically were ahead of their time? I do.
Man, I thought that Jackie Moore revolutionized the business in many ways. You go back and look at her entry into the business, through Tennessee and things she did in Texas. Jackie was very aggressive and very snug, but very safe, and was a worker's worker in so many ways that she was snug and people believed her shit. So yeah, man, I think she's a trailblazer, but at the time she made her way.
Next up, maybe the second most interesting thing on the whole show. Ric Flair is going to defeat Vince McMahon in 14 minutes and 55 seconds in a street fight. They really pushed Flair's daughter Megan and son Reed, who is now almost as tall as Rick, at ringside with no angle. To answer the big question, yes, Flair wrestled in his trunks. Vince looked, at least his arms, delts, and back, like he was a few weeks from being ready to compete in an age group bodybuilding competition. The match was way better than it had any right to be, with two guys over 50, one of whom is really just a pumped up backyard wrestler. Of course, the heat and juice and gimmicks helped, but it wasn't like it was bad at any point. Flair sold the first 11 minutes, including doing the face first bump and flipping to the turnbuckles. Actually, Vince never took a flat back bump. Flair juiced early. Vince destroyed him and even got him in the figure four until Flair made a comeback. Flair used a low blow right before Vince went to hit him with a pipe. They brawled outside and Vince took a spill over the Spanish announce table. Flair clocked him with the TV monitor and Vince juiced. Flair then ordered his daughter to shoot a photo of a bloody Vince. Earlier in the day, Vince had grabbed Megan's camera to shoot a photo of Rick all bloody. He threw the camera back at her and she nearly dropped it. Flair got the pipe, clocked Vince in the head and put him in the figure four, and Vince sold it great before tapping to a pretty huge pop, 2 3/4 stars. As a reminder, Flair is really like one of the flag bearers for Turner and TBS and WCW and the NWA, and Atlanta obviously was their home. And so now this is Flair's first match back wrestling, and it's in Atlanta, and he's got his family at ringside and there's blood on both sides. Atlanta ate this up, dude. What'd you think?
Well, first of all, I don't think it's fair to a pumped up backyard wrestler. I never thought of Ric Flair that way.
Every now and again,
I don't know that he was nearly as pumped up as Vince. Oh, you missed a spot on the back of your arms. Let me get that, sir. But I thought the match was great. I thought that they told a hell of a story. It was what it was, and people loved it.
And, how great of a job did Megan do taking those photos too?
She damn near dropped the camera, Conrad.
But she didn't. See, she was trying to give some drama to the story.
It made it real.
She's actually a worker.
That was part of it. She was supposed to almost drop the camera.
How do you remember that?
That was my input.
How do you remember that coming to be? It's not like she just would have arbitrarily said, "Oh, I can't wait to be at TV or come see Dad wrestle." I think
they were just there.
And the day of, we just threw it in.
Yeah.
It's fun. Isn't it true that once upon a time, they both had pictures hanging in their offices of this moment or somewhere? Like I've heard the story that this was framed. What a cool little memento for Rick to have and Vince to have of each other bloody in each other's offices. That's fun.
There you go.
The classic shot of Vince coming up from the apron, the big reveal, the way it's shot. Was that planned ahead of time? Is that something y'all broke down?
No, that's just beautiful fucking goddamn impromptu work.
You said earlier, Rick was maybe his confidence wasn't where it should be. How was he feeling on the other side of this match?
Oh, I think he was ecstatic on the other side. He got through it. Awesome reaction. And it was everything that it could be. You know what I mean? It was, sometimes Rick had an issue, with being the Ric Flair that he thought that he was. And it was the audience just viewed him as Ric Flair, man. And to me, I think Rick could have, could go out to the end of time and just still be Ric Flair.
I mean, I think he plans to.
Well, there you go.
Coming up next, it's our world title match. Chris Jericho's our champ, and he's actually going to retain. He's going to beat The Rock in 18 minutes and 48 seconds. Meltzer had this to say. Somebody needs to make note of the fact that nobody, and The Rock means nobody in this business, as over as The Rock as a babyface in history, has ever done as many jobs as The Rock. This was their usual excellent match, well-paced, usual great build. You know the story, but it takes a turn. Rock hits a DDT, but Nick Patrick refused to count. So Rock is going to give Nick Patrick a rock bottom. Then he's going to give Jericho a spine buster and the people's elbow. But now we've got two referees down. Both Earl Hebner and Patrick have fallen by the wayside here. So Jericho hits a low blow and then rams Rock into an unprotected turnbuckle, puts his feet on the ropes, and Hebner groggily counts the fall. And Meltzer loved it, man. Gave it 4.25 stars. This is the type of match that Jericho needed to cement himself as a tippy top guy. Beat The Rock again on pay-per-view in a great match like this, right?
Yes. And that's what, again, you go back to the beginning of Jericho's undisputed reign in being the victor of a 3-way match with Austin and The Rock. That, to me, that was the moment. And then here again, reinforcing that and being able to go out and have a fucking barn burner, drop dead great match. And that's a testament to The Rock and to Jericho that could perform and own you by the end of the night. They did it, and they did it every night. And it was beautiful to watch.
What do you think about Meltzer saying that nobody as over as The Rock has ever done as many jobs as a babyface? Accurate? Fair?
I don't know if that's accurate or not. Like most of his shit is inaccurate, but I think that Rock was able to make people, whether he was going over or losing. And that was the beauty. And that was how good of a worker and talent the Rock is.
Did you think Rock's matches at times ever got redundant? Did he fall into being a routine man, I guess?
No, I didn't, because I think that he made a very conscious effort to make them different. Did he have his spots? Did he have his things that he did? Sure he did. Absolutely. But I never, ever, because there was so much in him that tried to make everything different each time. And I think if you were to watch them back to back, yeah, you're going to get the people's elbow. Yeah, you're going to get the spit punch. Yeah, you're going to get those things. But overall, they were all different.
And now it's time for our main event, the Royal Rumble. We know the story. Hunter's going to return and get the win in 69 minutes and 22 seconds. Eventually we see the Undertaker in there with the Hardys, and with the odds against him, the valiant heel veteran that he is, Undertaker not only took the twist of fate, but the Swanton Bomb as well. And then when they did the poetry in motion, he catches Jeff, throws him over the top at 18:23, and he dumped Matt at 18:54. Then Maven was in for the big spot of the match. Even before the spot, he got one of the biggest pops of the entire show. And Meltzer says, imagine if they had done something with him when he was hot. Either way, the Hardys are going to attack the Undertaker, even though they were eliminated, and they're going to get booed in the process. Lita is going to distract the Undertaker, who's cleaning house for like a fourth time. And then out of nowhere, Maven drop kicks the Undertaker out at 20 minutes and 19 seconds. And Meltzer would say this was actually the biggest pop of the show. Undertaker then destroyed Maven with a hard chair shot to the head and dragged his lifeless carcass to the popcorn stand. Meltzer would write, "Holy Tommy Rich, a young babyface getting over by carving up his forehead to garner sympathy. Undertaker took turns pounding a bloody Maven to death and eating popcorn. I was actually thinking that some people might actually think the Undertaker was putting Maven over because he went over the top rope before destroying him. The drop kick pop, legitimately. My God, what a pop, what a moment. Nobody could have called it. How does that come to be? Is that your call?
Yeah, we're looking to do a spot with Maven, and Undertaker was like, well, we could do this and get out there. It was a moment in time where you're laying everything out. You're getting to that point of the Rumble, and you want to have expected moments. You want to have moments that people will remember. And this was one of those moments. It was a big spot for Maven. It was an opportunity that just to put him in there with The Undertaker wouldn't have worked. But a shock, a surprise, a holy shit moment, that was a holy shit moment. And again, a testament to The Undertaker being able to take that moment. And beating the living shit was the highlight of Maven's entire career. Right there, that night in Atlanta, that night up in the concession stand in the lobby. Holy shit, it was a madhouse. People coming around us from every direction. And it was insanity because, we looked at different things to do and where you could do them. We wanted to take people away for a minute from the in-ring action, and to go up and do that was risky. Security was an issue, but we got it done, and we had an escape route, and it was absolutely hell getting to that point, just trying to keep people back. I don't think anyone really anticipated the number of people that came, and it got a little overwhelming for security at the time, but we got through it and got it done.
I'm going to play the pop here. So just to remind you, Undertaker's eliminated both of the Hardys, but Undertaker is distracted by Lita. Both Hardys come in, double team him. Eventually he gets the better of them. Here's the finish of that. And then the whole Maven thing.
Here. Right. So get the rest of the men out of the ring. Again. There went Jeff Hardy. Referee, make yourself useful. Try to contribute here to that. And Maven, oh my God! My God! Maven from Canada just eliminated The Undertaker. What? My God, I don't believe it. That is the biggest shocker I've ever seen at the Royal Rumble. What? You heard me right. Let me do it again. What? Maven just eliminated The Undertaker, and Maven cannot believe it. Maven, not to say what The Undertaker must be thinking right now. Maybe you don't want to believe it because you may have made the biggest mistake of your young life.
And of course, The Undertaker climbs back in and the beating progresses. But dude, what a moment. Like, I still think to this day, that's one of the biggest WrestleMania or Royal Rumble moments in history. Wouldn't you agree?
I would agree. And you know that I never ever read the notes that you send me or whoever sends me. But I do have to point out in the notes, you didn't say it because you know that it's not true, but it's like, oh my God, the drop kick and then Undertaker kills Maven. Do you think this is why Undertaker was getting a bad rap on the internet then? Fuck the internet on that kind of shit. Undertaker made Maven.
Yes, he did.
He made Maven. So I'll go back to my point. It was the biggest moment of Maven's career. And at that point in time, that I don't know any other veteran that would have done that. And then again, by Maven getting his ass kicked by said veteran and said legend, that made him.
Yes.
That just goes to people that don't understand the business.
Such a cool moment. And that's not the only cool moment we got. I want to talk about another one. I briefly want to mention Austin would throw out Christian, Saturn, Palumbo, Val Venus, and Test. And then Triple H came out. And it took him like 90 seconds to make it to the ring. He's got the big entrance. And the people were even joking, hey man, he might get lapped by the next guy. Ultimately, they're going to trade a few punches. Of course, they were tag team partners the last time they were in the ring when the whole injury happened, tearing out the quad. So it's cool to see them facing off and then all of a sudden stand back. There's a hurricane coming through. Hurricane going to chokeslam both Austin and Triple H at the same time is also one of the bigger moments in Rumble history, is it not?
Absolutely. And he almost had him. I thought for a minute, I thought that Hurricane was going to fucking snatch each one of them and just simultaneously dump them over the top rope. But I think he had a shoelace that was loose, which caused that not to happen.
Really such a fun moment where
it was awesome.
He grabs them both by the throat and they just look at each other like, what the fuck is this? It was so great. Is that a Brian spot or is that a Hurricane call?
It's just, that was something that we had in there. That was, a nice fun spot.
tremendous. Of course, once Hurricane gets thrown out, because sadly, he was not successful in his chokeslam attempt, these guys go back to pounding on each other. And then Farouk shows up, and then Mr. Perfect is in next. Eventually Kurt Angle, who was getting what a lot of people thought was going to be maybe, the final 2 spot here, he's out. Angle ultimately tosses out Austin all by his lonesome. And, there's a big moment before, and we mentioned, Kurt's back and Goldust is back and all that, but there's the big moment where Triple H has been eliminated, or so they think. And of course he wasn't. He does the big pose, the big Hunter pose, and then makes the elimination. Hunter wins 69 minutes and 22 seconds, probably the longest match in the history of the WWF, Meltzer would say. And he called it the best Rumble in years and gave it 3.5 stars. I think I would put like 97 still my favorite, maybe 92 second, but this might be my 3rd favorite Royal Rumble. Where does this one stack up for you?
Oh, definitely top 5. It was just so much fun. And there were so many little nuanced things in there that made it fun. And, you came out of the thing with the guy that you'd been building up for a while and in the rightful place. So it was great shit, man. It made Jericho, it made Hunter, it made Maven, Flair returning in his old stomping grounds and having a tremendous issue match with Vince. Outstanding. It's one of those that you come off on a high from, and was a lot of fun.
The final 4 were Hunter, Angle, Austin, and Perfect. And as a reminder, the XWF has Perfect under contract, and they wanted him to be their champ, and he looked like a star here. He's put in the final 4, so he's presented like the main event, and it feels like this is going to be a big resurgence for him. And we know ultimately it didn't happen. How excited were you at the end of the night about, man, Kurt looked like Kurt tonight. We got Mr. Perfect back.
Well, it was nice to see. And again, that nostalgia is always great to see. It was nice to see all the guys returning. It's a nice nostalgia moment that people can go back, go, oh, and you got to see so-and-so. And people are like, they still wrestling? I don't watch anymore, but by God, did you see that Kurt Angle and that Triple H return the other night? I mean, I don't watch no more, but that kind of shit. So yeah, I thought it was great to have him back.
Chat me up about where you are once the Rumble is over. Like, did you know already, hey, we're going to go with Hunter and Jericho, and we're going to put Stephanie with Jericho, and we're going to go with Rock, Hogan, et cetera, et cetera. Did you have all that mapped out at this point for Mania?
No, we didn't have Rock Hogan. We definitely had Hunter and Jericho, and there was still a lot of debate as far as the NWO and what we were going to do there. So that really didn't pan out for a few weeks.
Well, Royal Rumble 2005 is going to be our topic next week. It's a pretty notable show because it's where Vince McMahon has to do a bit of a run in. Is it Batista? Is it John Cena? I don't know, but what I know for sure is Vince ain't got no quads. January 30th, 2005 is the date of that one. We'll be talking about it next week. Man, this is going to be a fun month. Royal Rumble, Royal Rumble, Royal Rumble. Next week should be just as loaded. The participants are Eddie Guerrero, Chris Benoit, Daniel Puder, Hardcore Holly, the Hurricane, Kenzo Suzuki, Edge, Mysterio, Shelton Benjamin, Booker T, Chris Jericho, Luther Reigns, Muhammad Hassan, Orlando Jordan, Scotty 2 Hotty, Charlie Haas, Rene Dupree, Simon Dean, Shawn Michaels, Kurt Angle, Jonathan Coachman, Mark Jindrak, Viscera, Paul London, John Cena, Gene Snitsky, Kane, Batista, Christian, and Ric Flair. What a group, man. This should be a fun time next week, talking all things Rumble 05.
Yeah, but there's only one thing we're going to talk about. By God, and we'll have fun doing it.
Yes, we will. We'll be doing it this week, next week, and every week. Sorry about the delay this week, but, it ain't my fault. We'll see you next week for Royal Rumble 2005 right here on Something to Wrestle with Bruce Prichard.
What are you trying to say? It's my fault?
Well, it wasn't mine. I was ready.
Oh, it wasn't mine. I mean, I was ready to go at 4:00.
What day?
That day.
What day is that?
You know.
Well, Bruce, I appreciate you making time out of your busy schedule. I'm glad you're working out. I'm glad you got your mom jeans back. And I'm glad that we'll see you next week right here on Something to Wrestle with Bruce Prichard.
I threw the big mom jeans out, though. The acid washed ones, anyway.
You going to hit me with a rock on or whatever?
Okay, rock on.
Boy, that was a little half-ass, lame-ass attempt right there.
Well, I'm down to about 30 minutes of energy. Rock on!
Hey, am I going to see you Friday?
I don't know.
I hope so.
It depends on it depends on if I have a serious illness that is a mystery.
You know what? I heard you got that mysterious illness down in Bossy Air City. That's what I heard.
There you go.
That's what Quang told me. We'll see you next week.
There you go. That was before I went to Lafayette. All right, rock on.
The search for Booker T's penis continues right here on Something Else.
God.
What? That was funny.
That wasn't his penis.
I know. It was clearly just where Austin had his elbow.
His arm. It was clearly Austin's arm.
I love you for that. See you next week.
Bye.
Hey, it's Conrad Thompson. Thanks for checking out the podcast here on YouTube. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notifications bell so you get a notice anytime we upload some new content. And go save yourself some money right now. If you're in a 30-year loan or you have credit card debt, it's not a matter of if I can save you money. It's a matter of how much. Find out right now for free at SaveWithConrad.com.